The hospital door flew open to the frantic sound of an ambulance siren. Yaya Imelda, the longtime house helper of the Bongbang and Lenny couple, rushed alongside the corridor to follow the rolling stretcher of her madam. Lenny was unconscious, her cream cotton skirt was drenched with blood because she had a miscarriage. Mang Isco, the longtime driver of the couple, is closely following. He was on call for close to 30 minutes now, updating Bongbang of his wife's situation. His boss was on a business trip when all of this happened. Bongbang told Mang Isco that he already cut his business trip and is now rushing his way to the hospital. There was a tense situation in the urgent care unit, where other people were being treated for their wounds caused by car collisions, gunshot wounds, and other mishaps. The patients were either crying and grimacing in pain while the others were just staring blankly at the wall. "God help my madam," Yaya Imelda whispered. Yaya Imelda glanced on the right, where she could see other pregnant moms lined up in the birthing section, which was on the second level of the building, via the open large windows. Some were on the bed, while others were standing. Despite being a private hospital, the expectant mothers were too many to be handled by the hospital. Lenny and Bongbang are both from well-to-do families in Manila, the Philippines' capital. Their parents are business partners and have pre-arranged their marriage. Their black Mercedes-Benz had just parked in the garage after passing through the automated gate. The driver attempted to assist Lenny after opening the vehicle door. "I'll take care of it, Mang Isco." Bongbang took his wife's hand and led her into their custom-built home in the upscale suburb. It's a 5-bedroom, 5-bathroom house with a swimming pool in the front yard. "We'll have to recruit another maid to assist Yaya Imelda." Lenny expressed her thoughts. Yaya Imelda quickly responded that she could take care of her and do all the cleaning herself, since their parents also send some helpers to clean the house during weekends. "Do you want to eat anything?" the 50-year-old woman asked. "I would rather sleep, I'm tired," Lenny responded. Bongbang interrupted, "But you haven't eaten anything." Then turning to their nanny he said, "Yaya, just bring her a glass of warm milk." "I don't want to drink milk." Lenny held her stomach and opened her mouth, indicating that she was in pain. "What happened?" asked her husband, who was very worried. "Do you want me to call a doctor?" Lenny did not reply and sat on the sofa in their living room. She was in her second trimester of pregnancy, but her condition was as difficult as the first. She vomits every morning and sometimes suffers from constipation and minor fever. Mang Isco appeared and asked, "Sir, should I call the doctor now?" He was holding a cell phone given to him by his boss Bongbang last Christmas as a bonus. "I'm good, Mang Isco," Lenny stated as she rested her head on the pillow. Yaya Imelda came with a glass of milk and placed it on the center table. Bongbang reached for the glass of milk to offer to Lenny, but she shoved him, causing the glass to slide from his grip and fall to the floor. The crackling of shattered glass was heard and milk was poured on the floor. "I told you I don't want milk," Lenny said, annoyed. Mang Isco immediately scooped up the shattered glass, while Yaya Imelda cleaned it up with a mop and a dustpan. Bongbang got up and went into the main bedroom, shaking his head. Lenny fell asleep on the sofa and had a nightmare. She was taken into an abortion clinic by her parents and she was shouting in pain. Her 2 legs were open as she lay on a stingy bed. The abortionist was holding a metal forceps and then he inserted it into her vagina. She screamed in pain and a man entered the room to save her. She awoke at that point. Rodrigo, her first love, was the man in her dream, not Bongbang. She recalled his gaze and lips, as well as their shared experiences. She smiled as she remembered how they met at the mall and how they dated without her parents' knowledge. When she remembered the day her parents found out about their affair, her pleasure changed to sadness. She was confined to her room and barred from seeing Rodrigo. She assumed that if they had a child, her parents would embrace Rodrigo, but it turned out that they still rejected him because she was already betrothed to their business partner's son. Rodrigo died in a motorbike accident, Lenny discovered afterwards. She believed her parents were involved at first, but she changed her mind after they told her that it was all an accident. Lenny's world flipped upside down. She didn't eat for a week until she was hospitalized. When she recovered, her parents pressured Lenny to get an abortion, which was illegal in their country, so they had to settle for a clandestine abortion facility. Lenny was forced to marry Bongbang by her parents. She was not able to resist them, for they threatened her that she wouldn't be a part of their last will and testament. Since Rodrigo was dead, Lenny agreed but never showed affection to her husband Bongbang. Bongbang, on the other hand, loved Lenny at first sight. When he escorted her on her debut or on her 18th birthday, he met her for the first time. He'll never forget how stunning she looked in her red gown. They also danced that night in the Diamond Hotel's function ballroom, where the event was conducted. His first and last dance with a lady was that one. Bongbang has given Lenny his whole attention. Despite the presence of their nanny, Bongbang was the one who prepared her slippers, bathtub, and even learned to cook for her, despite the fact that he had not done these things while he was still a single guy since they were wealthy. He bought new baby clothes, diapers and milk and asked Mang Isco to place it in his office in the house. Then he motioned for Lenny to enter the office, bringing her in with his arm on Lenny's shoulders. Bongbang opened the door expecting his wife to be happy and surprised. Lenny's face was expressionless. She grimaced when she saw the clothing he bought. She commented, "Why would you buy boys' clothing when we don't know the gender yet?" "I could just buy another set of baby clothing in case we have a girl," he said as Bongbang expressed regret. "I always wished for a little daughter, not a boy," Lenny remarked as she clasped her hands around her waist. "All right, and here's the milk and diapers for our baby girl," Bongbang stated tenderly. "I simply followed my father's advice because they are expecting a grandson." "There you go, Bong," Lenny said, her face red with annoyance. "You always defer to your parents' decisions." However, Bongbang paused his discourse when Lenny turned away from him and returned to her bed. Bongbang sat on his chair, staring at the baby's clothes. He grasped them and shook his head, tears welling up in his eyes. Lenny had another nightmare. This time a man wearing jeans and a jacket with a black hood was trying to hurt her. She was running as fast as she could in the street, but the man was chasing her. When she stumbled on a gutter on the road, she fell and saw the man approaching him. He removed his hood and he saw that it was Rodrigo. Bongbang shook her shoulder and said, "Wake up, you were screaming." Bongbang was on a week-long business trip. Lenny was laying on her bed with so many things on her mind. She's trying to sleep but was unable to do so. She pushed herself up into a sitting position and grabbed the glass of water that Yaya Imelda prepared for her earlier in the night. It was at this moment that from the corner of her eyes she noticed a shadow move towards her. The closer the shadow gets, the dimmer the night lamp becomes beside her. She was shaking in fear and was frantically calling Yaya Imelda and Mang Isco. Lenny was on vertigo. It was as if her room was spinning around her. Alongside this, she was also hearing the voice of Rodrigo screaming at her. She also saw a vision that Rodrigo was shouting something and pointing towards her belly. She interpreted this as being cursed because she had not tried to verify the truth behind Rodrigo's demise. Lenny felt a sharp pain on her belly. "Oh my God. My baby." Her eyes widened with concern. The pain was unbearable. She could see her belly moving eerily as if the baby was clawing himself out. It was at this point that she fainted. The hospital door flew open to the frantic sound of an ambulance siren. Yaya Imelda rushed alongside the corridor to follow the rolling stretcher of her madam. Lenny was unconscious. Her cream cotton skirt was drenched with blood because she had a miscarriage. Mang Isco is closely following. He was on call for close to 30 minutes now, updating Bongbang of his wife's situation. His boss was on a business trip when all of this happened. Bongbang told Mang Isco that he already cut his business trip and is now rushing his way to the hospital. Lenny woke up at the hospital with Yaya Imelda and Mang Isco on her side. "Ma'am. Don't move, I'll call the doctor," Yaya Imelda said and immediately went outside the room. Mang Isco told her that her husband is on the way to the hospital. When he immediately checked on his wife, who is now asleep, the physician told him that Lenny had a miscarriage and the dead baby was removed. The body of their baby was currently placed in the morgue. Bongbang covered his face and wept like he never wept before. For a long time now, Rodrigo has been trying to warn the love of his life about the demonic entity called Tiyanak that has taken over her baby in her womb. In fact, the baby has long died in the earlier stage of her pregnancy. But Lenny's hatred to her husband, Bong Bang, and her parents, which she blamed for the death of her one true love, Rodrigo, opened the dead body of the fetus for possession of demonic forces. Rodrigo tried to appear in Lenny's dream, physical manifestation through the shadows and other electrical equipment in her room, but Lenny's hate kept growing stronger, thereby feeding the demonic entity in her womb. In Rodrigo's desperation, he will try to warn Lenny one last time of her impending doom and those that are around her. He will do this by possession of the only living thing inside Lenny's hospital room. Rodrigo took possession of the lone mosquito in Lenny's room. He maneuvered the mosquito behind Lenny's ear just slightly above her face. She was sleeping deeply at that time, still recuperating from her miscarriage. And from there, he opened his heart to her. With deep sadness and regret, he mentioned that he loved her and will love her for eternity. He regrets falling into the trap that her parents prepared for him. He told her that he was poisoned by her parents and he died in a motorbike accident on the way to the hospital. Most importantly, he told her about the danger of the Tiyanak, who was now out of her body. This demonic entity will surely go after her and will consume her flesh. Lenny suddenly woke up to the irritating noise. She slapped the pesky insect near her ear. "Annoying bastard," she murmured as she stood up to wash off the dead mosquito in her face and hands in the bathroom. On the second night of Lenny's stay in the hospital, she suddenly woke up in a commotion outside her room, in the corridor of the hospital. She scanned the room and saw that Bong Bang was sleeping, sitting on a chair beside her bed. She suddenly felt compassion for Bong Bang for all the pain and rejection that she subjected him to. Yaya Imelda and Mang Isco were each sleeping on different chairs in the far corner of her room. She was ready to wake up when she noticed them moving and realized the bustle outside their hospital room was getting louder. She gently nudged her husband Bong Bang. "Honey, wake up." This is the first time she called Bong Bang any term of endearment. Bong Bang opened his eyes and could not believe what he heard. He was about to ask if what he heard was indeed his wife calling him honey when everyone in the room was jolted with shouting and crying in the hospital corridor. "Merciful Lord," Yaya Imelda said as she made the sign of the cross. "What's happening?" Mang Isco asked, confused from suddenly waking up. Bong Bang stood up and looked at Lenny. "Don't worry, I'll check what's happening." He walked towards the door. A few steps before he could reach the door, it suddenly flung open. A nurse told them that a vicious animal was inside the hospital and is attacking people. She told them to stay inside their room. Then she hurriedly closed the door and ran to her station. They could not believe what they heard. After a few more minutes, the commotion and shouting crescendoed. Lenny covered her ears. Mang Isco went to the toilet and was holding the metal curtain bar when he walked out. Bong Bang looked at him and raised his eyebrow. "Just for protection, sir," Mang Isco explained. Yaya Imelda went to the other side of Lenny's bed and held Lenny's arm. "Don't worry, ma'am." Lenny nodded to her. They are all looking at the door at this point. Then suddenly, everything went silent in the corridor. They all looked at each other. Not a minute later, when they heard a baby crying in front of their door, Yaya Imelda immediately ran to the door and opened it, followed by Mang Isco, who's holding the metal bar at a ready. "My God, ma'am, sir, it's a baby." Yaya Imelda picked it up from the floor. Who could have been this heartless to just leave a baby on the floor with a vicious animal around? Lenny asked Bong Bang. His husband did not answer. "Take the baby and go inside quickly," Mang Isco told Yaya Imelda nervously. Yaya Imelda picked up the baby in her arms and walked inside the room, after which Mang Isco promptly locked the door. As soon as Yaya Imelda carried it near her shoulders, the infant suddenly bit a huge chunk of her neck. Yaya Imelda's blood sprayed from her neck into Mang Isco's face. Mang Isco fell on the floor in fright. Yaya Imelda's eyes went all white and turned pale from the blood loss. She dropped dead, twitching. She even protected the infant from the fall. Bong Bang and Lenny's eyes widened. Lenny shouted Yaya Imelda's name. She was crying profusely. Yaya Imelda is more than a maid to her, she was the one who really raised her from childhood. Bong Bang was about to run to Yaya Imelda's aid when the infant suddenly stood up. This time it doesn't look like an infant anymore. It looked more like a demon with sagging skin and a very flat nose. It took a single step. Its movement is crooked due to its uneven legs. It looked at Bong Bang with hate on its crimson eyes. It smiled, revealing sharp fangs and claws. Bong Bang moved back and decided to secure his wife, who was still crying on her bed. He looked at Mang Isco, and saw that the old man was too shocked to move. Mang Isco, Bong Bang whispered to his driver. Mang Isco came to his senses and looked at Bong Bang. Come to us slowly, Bong Bang instructed Mang Isco. The creature looked at Mang Isco. It made ticking noises and jumped on the old man. Mang Isco remembered the metal bar on his hand. He swung it at the creature and hit it at the forehead. The creature reeled and ran to the toilet. Seeing this, Mang Isco stood up and instructed Bong Bang to carry Lenny. We're going out of here, Mang Isco told Bong Bang and Lenny while keeping his eyes on the toilet door. Bong Bang carried his wife in his arms and walked towards Mang Isco. Mang Isco opened the door for the couple, not taking his eyes off the last location of the creature. The couple walked a few steps and stopped. Mang Isco noticed them looking on his back outside the opened door. Behind the door, on the hospital corridor, are hundreds of the same creature. Ferdy and Corey, the parents of Lenny, were counting their money in the safe. Their fortune grew exponentially due to the help of the family of their daughter's husband. In their mind, they deserve this good fortune because they worked hard for it. They even have to kill their daughter's first boyfriend to make this happen. Corey gave Ferdy a hot cup of coffee. Ferdy held the cup and took a sip. Perfect as always, my dear. Ferdy complimented Corey's coffee. Corey smiled and looked at their front door. Did you hear that? Corey asked Ferdy as she lowered the volume of their television. Yes, it's a baby crying, dear. Ferdy stood up and walked towards the door. Oh my. It is a baby indeed. He picked it up. Corey excitedly walked to the door to see. It's so cute. She motioned Ferdy to carry it and sit on the couch. She checked outside to see if there's anyone there. After making sure that there's no one around, she locked the door. They both sat on the couch and adored the infant. I wonder how much we can get if we sell this baby. Corey looked at Ferdy, grinning. Ferdy did not get the chance to reply because the baby, who doesn't look like a baby anymore, clawed on his face continually. Blood splattered everywhere. Ferdy was convulsing and was in shock from his injuries. Corey ran to the master's bedroom and immediately locked the door. Suddenly, she felt a sharp pain on her legs. When she looked, another demon child was chewing on her legs. She cried in pain and, most importantly, in fear, because right behind the Tiyanak are hundreds more inside the room. Blood splattered everywhere as she was devoured by the Tiyanaks.